That sounds good. So I'm Ramona Delmas, and I am the district chair for grants. That includes both district funded grants and global grants for our District 5190. I am a member of the Rotary Club of Bishop Sunrise.
Okay, and I'm Carolyn Feuille, the chairperson for the District International Service and also for my club, Nevada City Club. By the way, should I click on slideshow again?
You should.
Ah, no wonder. Okay. All right, here we go. So in Rotary, our clubs have lots of ways to engage in international service. And doing so adds a wonderful dimension to our experience of being Rotarians. And this is a key part of what we're talking about today in our seminar. So here we go. So our topics that we're addressing are, first of all, that Rotary is becoming more global in both reach and focus. It's encouraging clubs to engage in international service more. And to do so, partnering is really key for international service, whether it's with other clubs or charitable organizations or joining an existing project or a new one. And it gives us the opportunity to alleviate poverty, create sustainable change, develop friendships and cross-cultural awareness, even without a grant. The next topic we're addressing is foundations of successful projects. What's really key to make them successful, and whether it's with a grant or not. And then I'm going to speak briefly about the district's International Service Committee, which is developing lots of material to go on our website and other media to help clubs see what opportunities there are to do international service and how can they partner if that's their choice. And then for global grants, Ramona will help you get clear on how they work today. All right, any question there?
That's so good.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. So I'm going to start this very short video. It's like the face of Rotary around the world, and it touches on the 6 areas of focus. And I want this to help you get focused on international service, leave whatever thoughts you had when you came into this seminar aside, and just start focusing on Rotary International. And, yeah. Is this loud enough?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yes.
Actually, if you can turn up just a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Sweet.
So how many members of Rotary do we have around the world? Anybody?
1.2 million.
Yes, you got that right. And how many countries? How many countries is Rotary in, like it shows on the map? Anybody?
A lot.
That's what
All
my
right, we're in
answer is.
200 countries.
Okay.
All right. And one of the ways that Rotary's presence is growing, besides the members and the clubs and so on around the world, is partnering with large government organizations and NGOs. And they're kind of confusing to learn about them on the Rotary website because the information that I find is kind of scattered in many places. So we'll try to go through that today a little bit. So as I said, there's more and more emphasis on international service from Rotary International. Have you seen, does everybody see my computer or no?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. So I'm showing this May issue of the Rotarian, that the cover issue story is about some women entrepreneurs who got help by Rotary through the foundation in Costa Rica. And more I'm noticing that the articles and announcements and so on in the Rotarian are international. And so why? We're all connected. What happens in other parts of the world can impact us. Political instability, such as in Syria today, creates refugees that have gone to Europe, Canada, the US, and still trying to exit. Now we're around the world fighting COVID-19. And so also as Rotarians, we care, we have skills, and we take action, not just at home, but around the world. So let's look a little bit at the value of international service. And by that, I mean benefits, especially to us and to people we serve. So first of all, participation in international service is a way to grow as global citizens, to develop what I call a global mindset, see the world from a different cultural perspective. And there are many opportunities to do this. We can also partner with other clubs and learn about their cultures, collaborate with people different from us, make new friends, and spread goodwill. And then third, all of this helps reduce poverty, and that's what we're really about. And so they showed the various areas of focus in the little video, and these are them too. And Ramona's going to tell us about the latest one. We have a seventh. And when a country reduces its poverty, it can, not necessarily, but it can promote more political stability. And so this helps toward peace and less friction in the society and war and violence and so on. So Rotary is growing its reputation as a global charitable organization. Charity Navigator rates Rotary very highly among the charitable organizations or NGOs. Does everybody know this term, NGO?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So knowing that these are the contributions we make in doing international service really makes me proud and excited to be a Rotarian. It enriches my life. And in fact, the opportunity for international work has always been my primary interest in being a Rotarian. And so I hope for you that you find ways and more ways to engage in international service with your club members and other Rotarians. Have fun, grow, expand your horizons, and change your life. Okay, so now we're going to start looking at partnering. There's several, by the way, in order to give you more information but save time in my speaking, I'm not addressing every bullet on these partnering slides, but you have them so you can look them up. And I suggest when you see a slide that interests you, you take a photo of it with your phone or however. Okay, so the one couple of them that I want to emphasize here are project fairs. They support projects with clubs in Latin America and Africa especially. And there's a very good PDF file on the RI website called Rotary Project Fairs, a Guide for Organizers. It's excellent if you ever are in, if your club is interested in doing it. And clubs that are smaller especially can work with clubs that have global grants, and Ramona can tell us about that. The RI program is on hold for a year because of COVID-19 pandemic. And is everybody familiar with Rotary action groups? Yes, no?
I'm not.
So these are what are groups that you join as an individual out of your personal interest and or skills that you have. If you look them up on the Rotary website, you'll see there's about 50 or 60 of them, I think. And one is, for example, for peace, Action Group for Peace. And there are many different purposes also, like literacy. Okay. So here's a map of project fairs as they occurred last year. And we don't know yet if they will take place as planned starting in January 2021. But if they do, these ones in Latin America tend to be the clubs that people from Western United States and Canada go to. And so these are hosted by Rotary districts to encourage international friendship and collaboration. And the clubs show in these countries, they have the opportunity to showcase their service projects to potential partners from other countries and give them the means to find a project that meets their club's goals. So the clubs work together as on a global project. And excuse me, one doesn't just give money, they are in it together the whole way for their projects. But it starts with the opportunity to meet people in these clubs with their fairs, see how they're organized, and if your club wants to participate, then they know directly who are the players, what are their issues, what's feasible and not, so that they can get their project off to a good start. Okay, we can also partner with charitable and government organizations. So these are several that are successful. Two that I'm gonna mention are, or describe, are the stove team, which are ecological stoves that are not as wasteful, do not burn wood, and give women and children better health, especially in Latin America. And the other program I'm going to talk about is the Open World program. So, whoops, what happened? Oh, here we are, yeah. All right, these Ecocina stoves, as I said, they minimize toxic smoke because they take very little wood to get going. They are solar, so they're very useful and much more, less polluting, much more kind to the environment. Okay.
You said they're solar?
As far as I know, they are. I think so.
I've never seen a combination wood and solar stove.
Ah, okay.
I'm familiar with solar stoves. We brought some to Nicaragua, but not wood and solar.
Okay. Well, I got information from a colleague, and I haven't investigated, but I thought she said that they are solar. So and that they don't need to use wood or hardly any. I'm not sure. That's a good question, David. Thank you. I'll look into it. Okay. So the Open World Program is a leadership program that promotes U.S. diplomatic and other ties for delegations coming from former Soviet satellite countries to spend a week with a host club, a Rotary club. They learn about Rotary and also very much about the theme that they're following and being there. So our delegation was from Kazakhstan, and they were interested in entrepreneurship. This is a program sponsored and paid for by the US Congress, and it has these themes, as you see in the second bullet, that they can learn about directly, as well as have the wonderful experience of staying with a host family. So, and these are the people in our delegation, plus some of us Rotary members. One of them has since joined Rotary. One of them, because of the program, he credits the program with helping him learn how to expand his business. And by the way, they're from Kazakhstan, as I said. They're standing at the ocean. This is Ocean Beach in San Francisco. And why do you think we went there as opposed to Golden Gate Bridge or downtown or whatever, Golden Gate Park? All right, they live in a landlocked country.
Yeah.
All they wanted, the whole time they were with us in the morning, we were showing them places. They said finally at lunch, look, we only want one thing. We want to go to the ocean. So here we are. It was so much fun. And we're still in touch with them today. All right, a third way of partnering is joining existing projects in our district. These are some that are current, although the first one I think is finished with the Reno Club. The second one at the Fernley Club in Nevada, the Souls for Souls project is for shoes for children, to donate them to children in Pakistan, and with the collaboration of Rotary clubs in Pakistan. And they now have 5 other clubs participating or rather donating shoes. Okay. So now we're going to look a little bit at what makes projects successful, especially when you work with other clubs and you partner. So the power of partnering. It's really key, in fact, essential, that you develop strong relationships, you have good communication as a foundation for doing international projects together. When
Carolyn,
this is,
I think David had a question.
I'm sorry, I can't, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Carolyn, all I wanted to ask was on the open world projects,
Yes.
are they ongoing now, or have they been suspended until a certain time? Or
Good question. Yes, we're very sorry they were suspended for this year.
this calendar year?
Yes, by the way, you apply in the month of September, you get notice in October, and then the start date is January of the following year, about 3 months later.
So essentially there won't be any for 2021 because no applications went in September.
Right.
Are going in.
Right. Yep. Right. Yeah. So,
Thank you. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. If you want to ask or have any more questions about it, please feel free to email me, and my email's in here if you take a photo, or I can send it to you, of course. Okay, so I want to go over 2 examples of partnering. And the first is twin clubs. Our club, Nevada City Club, that Robin and I belong to, does diagnostic health testing in a very small town called Los Barriles with the Los Barriles Club in Baja. And after working with them on another project for a few years, we then decided to become twin clubs because we have a relationship that's ongoing. we see each other, communicate, talk to each other, email each other. And it's a great relationship. And it's helped us work very well together. Our second twin club is the club in Astana, Kazakhstan, and our club, Nevada City. This came about because of our having the experience with the Kazakh delegation for the Open World program. We introduced ourselves to the Astana Club and the president, and she was very open to get to know us, work with us. And I happened to be in Russia, and from there to Kazakhstan is like a hop, skip, and a jump. So I engaged in the other way that we all have to get to know people in other clubs called the Friendship Exchange. We can do this through our club or independently. We just have to let the district governor know we're going on a friendship exchange where we can go by ourselves, with our partner, with our families, to visit with Rotarians or in somewhere else in the world, and then they come and visit us. It's reciprocal. So here I am with the president's family, and then their relatives have a horse farm about 50 miles out from the city we are in, Astana. And we're in a yurt, a real yurt. This is not plastic or nylon. And it was just an incredible experience. Okay, and so then when she visited, her name is Liazad, it happened to be for the 4th of July parade that she was there that week. So this was a totally new, unexpected experience for her. Yeah. Okay, and my last topic is the District International Service Committee. The purpose of this is to gather information and make it available to clubs in our district so that they can learn more about international service and have support, get their questions answered and so on, and help increase Rotary's impact in the world. So, excuse me, the members of the committee are developing what we call stories that are going on our website. We've actually started. There are 2 posted now on the International Service page. And we're developing more resources, and we will also be creating a list of experts and to serve as mentors for clubs and individual Rotarians that have questions. So if you have questions or you want to know more about this in particular or any of the topics I covered, here's my email, and I would welcome your message. Okay, and any questions here before Ramona starts? Okay, here we go.
So I'm going to do my own.
Okay, so I'll unshare. Let's see. Again, I don't have my menu. Oh, I just escaped the slideshow. Okay. This is a problem when you use 2 screens.
Ramona, you may want to just see what happens if you just share. I don't know if you can take it away from her or not. You might be able to do
So
that.
I can do stop share if you
Yeah,
want
stop
me to.
share. Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm in Rotary because of international service. That is my passion as a Rotarian. My experience in international work has been through Rotary Youth Exchange students and also through the global grant process. It was interesting that it was a Rotary Youth Exchange student who was my son 27 years ago, who led me back to Chiapas, Mexico with my first global grant. I'm back in the country now with a second global grant, and my third global grant experience was working with a global scholar. And so I really am passionate about global grants. So what I want to talk to you today about is how we're going to set these global grants up for success. But I want you to start thinking first about really what is a global project. When you enter into another country with your project and your ideas, you're entering into a culture. It may or may not be a culture that you're familiar with, but it's going to be different than the culture you are in here in the United States. You're going to be working with a language that you may or may not be familiar with or have a handle on. I, for example, do not speak Spanish. I've literally had to rely on my Rotary son and through professional interpreters to help me with this project, but I didn't let it stop me from doing a project in a country I couldn't speak the language in. I also want you to understand that there are political systems that you're going to work with that you are not familiar with. And you're really going to need to rely on the Rotarians in that country and in that community to guide you through those political systems, because at times it can be very confusing for you. And also, when you think about doing a particular project, think about the time zone that you're going to be working in, because that has an impact on what time of day and night you are actually communicating with these folks, because many of us now on these global projects are communicating through Zoom. And so it can be difficult if you're getting up at 2 a.m. in the morning to communicate with your partners in the foreign country that you're in. Also, please understand there is a currency that you're going to be working with. And each currency has its own exchange rate. And that is going to impact your global grant when you write that global grant. So what you're going to need to do is establish the exchange rate you're going to use, stay with that exchange rate so you can develop your budget, and you'll work your way through that eventually as you start going into the process of putting your project together. So those are just a few things I want you to think about when you get started. For me, every single one of those is a challenge, and it's an exciting challenge for me. I like the process. So Rotary gives us in our global grant process 7 areas of focus to work in. Currently, we are working in 6 of those areas of focus. In July 1st of 21, we will now then begin to work in our 7th area of focus, which is going to be supporting the environment. But I wanted to tell you that when you're working in one of these other areas of focus, you can always add a portion of supporting your environment to that project. So oftentimes think in terms of, like, if you're working in maternal and child health, how can you input a environmental impact into that project? But within the global grant process, each one of these areas of focus has a policy statement. You need to read and understand that policy statement that is within the area of focus or focuses that you're working in, as it's very important in the writing process of your grant. You have to have Rotarian involvement, just like we do in our district grants. We have to have Rotarian involvement in our global grants. So that means every global grant has an international club, which would be us, and then you have a host club. And that host club is in the country that you're working in. Hopefully it's as close to the project area that you're going to be working in. I currently have a project that the closest Rotary club is 4 hours on a dirt road to that project. But that works for us because we have Rotarians in that particular club that understand the political system of that particular community. Also, find out how committed your club members are and how committed their club members are, because I can tell you it becomes very, very difficult when it's you and one other person who really begins to pull the project together and keep it moving forward. So get good commitment from your club members on both sides. Then I want you to make sure that one of the very first things you do is you check on that club's standing. Are they in good standing with their district? And then I want you to check with the Rotary Foundation to find out, is that district in good standing with the foundation? I was working on a project. We completed that project. We wanted to go back in and do another project in that same district. That district had gotten sideways with the foundation. They owed the foundation $80,000. No global grants were going into any club in that district until that district paid back that money. So we waited 2 years for that process to take place. So don't wait until you've written your grant to find out if everybody's in good standing. And then look to see what kind of skills and connections your members have in the communities that you're going to be working in. Because like I said, the club might not necessarily be in the community where the project's taking place, but hopefully they already have strong connections there and they know what their skills are to help you get that project off the ground. I want to also encourage you to look outside of Rotary sometimes for your partnerships, because sometimes when we choose a particular area of focus, we might not have that area of expertise in that area. And so what we want to do is we want to find that person or that vocational training team that has that expertise in that area of focus. And out of that comes oftentimes your team leader, but more importantly also they bring oftentimes financial donations to your project. This particular picture is showing you a vocational training team I took into Chiapas, Mexico. This was another NGO that did all the vetting on these doctors and physical therapists and the whole entire crew that we had down there. They became the team leader. They redirected their organization's donations over to our project and helped bring about the finances that we needed for this project. So don't be afraid to look outside of Rotary for those wonderful people that have that expertise that you're looking for. It is now a requirement with any global grant that we have to do a community needs assessment. And you have to do that needs assessment either in person or your club is there doing it in person. You don't want to just gather up this information and put a community needs assessment together. For me personally, when I do community needs assessment, I fly to Mexico and I become a part of that process. The benefits are going to be so helpful in the implementation of your project and the funding of your project, because now you're going to have an opportunity to understand those community dynamics and how they work. It's going to give you an opportunity to let those community members participate. In this process of spending time with them, you're building some trust, you're getting some ownership in the project, and the outcome of that will be sustainability of your project when it's done. A community needs assessment can now be funded by a District 5190 district grant. So if you have a team that want to go into another country to do a community needs assessment, you can now apply for a district funded grant to help pay for that community needs assessment. There are lots of assessment tools that are available to you on the Rotary site. That's rotary.org site. And so some of the ways that you can do those assessments is through surveys, community meetings, narrowing it down to very specific focus groups. I want to talk to you too about the asset inventory. That is a huge part of your community needs assessment because each community has something already there they can contribute. You want to feather that out. You want to figure out what it is. Is it their equipment? Is it their personnel? What is it that they have that they're going to contribute to this project? And then do individual interviews if that's what's necessary. And then many of these communities have a central area, but they might have villages surrounding them. And it's important for you to go out and map that community and see, is this project going to be all encompassing of all of these communities, or are we going to narrow it down to just these communities that are going to be involved? When you're there doing that needs assessment, please remain open-minded. Don't go in there thinking you know what your project's going to be, because you don't. You might know the area of focus that you want to work in, and you can build your needs assessment around that area of focus. So choose your participants carefully. Know who's going to be participating in this project with you, who's going to be giving you this information. Look outside of the mainstream of that community. Go to those marginalized groups. Know at this point in the game, you are not a member of that community yet. You're still considered an outsider. I can tell you, through a successful project, you will become a member of that community. And it's also very, very important to make sure that you do not promise a project before you come back and make your decision. Because after spending 3 or 4 days working really hard, and in these 2 pictures, you're going to see a picture of a focus group, and that was me working with women in a remote village. And then you see in the other picture, all of us Rotarians are working very hard with the Ministry of Health to develop a project. And the outcome of that was a community needs assessment that was pretty much beginning to write the global grant. But yet, at the same time, we couldn't promise that we were going to do that project. This little focus group up here, this is where that individualized interview comes about, because it wasn't until we were walking away from that little village that a little woman came up and tapped us on our shoulders and whispered in our doctor's ear. And what she said changed our project. So once you're back and you have done that community needs assessment and you've decided you're going to go through with this project, you have to have a primary contact in that application. That primary contact now has to have grant management training within the last 3 years, because a lot has changed. And what we're finding is that some of our members have been writing some global grants. They don't understand the changes that have taken place, and they're putting together a global project that really still needs quite a bit of work prior to submitting it to the foundation. Build your budget. Remember to understand your currency, because you're going to need to know that. Within your budget, you always want to have a contingency fund, because things are going to change. That interest rates, that exchange rate's going to change, and the cost of services could potentially change. The cost of equipment could potentially change. So you have a contingency fund. You now have your budget. You know what your project is. You know how much money you need. Go out and secure that funding. But here are 2 big changes in the global grant world. The Rotary Foundation is no longer able to match our club cash. They will match our district designated funds towards our global grant, but not our cash. When COVID hit the world, Rotary stepped up, and our World Fund money was depleted for a while. And so at this point in time, they're not providing that match. But here's a wonderful caveat. The international hosts, we used to have to raise 30% of that budget, and now we only have to raise 15% of a contribution. That's fabulous. That's huge for us. For any project to be successful and sustainable and to be accepted by the Rotary Foundation, it has to have an MOU. Know who those players are, know what they're going to be providing on both sides, at the international side and the host side. Have that memorandum of understanding written. The MOU that we are required to use, we don't make up our own. It's available on rotary.org. And that is something that has to be completed before we submit our grants. So the whole key here is sustainability. We don't want to go into a community, build this wonderful project, and walk away, and there's just no way it's ever going to sustain itself. And so you want, like I said, go back to look at that community, look at their assets that they have, that they're already going to contribute. How can you build on those assets that are already there? You want them to own this project when you're done. It's theirs. It's their community. And for me, when I do global projects, I always bring in a vocational training team, because for me, it's important that I leave skills behind to build the sustainability. Even if I'm bringing in an operating room table, I bring someone to train for that possibility. But normally I bring in large medical teams to provide local training. If at all possible, buy your products locally, and locally might be countrywide. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to come right from that little community, but it's not, you don't want, if you can avoid purchasing the equipment here in the US and paying the shipping cost to get it into another country, because oftentimes what works here doesn't work in their country. And they might tell you, we need a new hospital bed. And we're going to think, oh, okay, good. We're going to get them an electrical bed. Well, that doesn't work for them when they don't have power. So you need to ask them, do you need the crank bed? Oh yeah, we need the crank bed. Look into that local funding. And I'll give you an example of this project in Hakananga right now. We really wanted to make sure that there was buy-in from the Ministry of Health and from the local municipality. So we, in our MOUs, we wrote in ways that they could provide funding. Well, one of the ways that the local municipality chose to do the funding was that they would provide all of the meals and all of the hotel expenses. Well, that was huge when we were developing our budget, that we no longer had to provide that. What that did is it brought us together 3 meals a day to spend with the local community. And it also gave us an evening to stay in a local person's hotel. We have to measure our success. It's all part of the sustainability to know that, did our project work? Was it impactful? And are we still moving along? So you're going to monitor and evaluate this plan. So begin with the end in mind. Know what you want this project to be in the end and work your way backwards. So in the very beginning, get that data that you need for your project and develop the methods that you're going to use to collect that data. And then throughout your project, during that project, you're going to monitor the success of that project. And if you have a project over $100,000, the Rotary Foundation will be sending a cadre member in to evaluate your progress partway through the project. And they are going to be looking at that data. So we have lots of resources for you to go to on the Rotary.org website. This guide to global grants will get you through where you need to go and get you started. We also now on Rotary.org have grant management training, and that is very valuable. And that is a training that we will require for a primary contact. And then I really want to encourage you, not just all of us here, like Carolyn said, and I'm telling you, we're all here to help you build these global grants. But over here is the staff contact sheet. And you want to find out who is going to be the foundation contact you're going to be working with on this project. Call them, introduce yourself, tell them about your project, have them become a part of this whole project from the very beginning, because let me tell you, they really want to be a part of it, and they can save you hours of work. And oftentimes they too have connections in the area that you're going to be working in. So remember, we always want to respond to the real needs of our communities. We're looking for sustainable projects. We're going to measure all of our outcomes, look around for partners, and know that through a global project, you are going to transform lives. And oftentimes, for me, it's been my life that's been changed. And I talk to people about that all the time. You know, it has led me to places I never dreamed I would go and meet people I never dreamed I would know. And it's given me an opportunity to not only engage with members on my side, but I'm getting to engage with Rotarians on the other side of Mexico. And I've watched it bring some of my vocational training team folks and other people in my community to Rotary because of the project that we've been doing. So I think here, this says it for us again, our vision, and it's that one that says, together we see a world where people unite and take action and create lasting change across the globe in our communities. And for me, most importantly, ourselves. So thank you. And Carolyn and I will now take some questions, but I also want to really encourage you at any point in the time that you're curious about a global grant, pick up the phone, give me a call or send me an email, and I'm always happy to talk Rotary Global Grants. So thank you.
Right. And likewise for me, with any questions you have or information you're looking for, please do contact me. I'm very glad to help and yeah, find the answers.
I have a question for Ramona.
Okay.
Ramona, if we wanted to make contact with a specific club that we know about in Nicaragua, how would we best do that?
Usually,
With an existing club in a large city about an hour and a half away?
yeah, so you just make contact. Do you know any of the Rotarians there?
No, we
Well-
don't. And we don't, and we have, of course, a language difference.
Yeah, the language difference, yeah. It's difficult. You know, one of the things that, depending on the project you want to do, one way that I found a Rotary Club when I knew I was going in with maternal health is I called the Ministry of Health and said, do you have a Rotary Club? Because I knew in that Ministry of Health there was going to be Rotarians. Do you have a club you think would work well with all of us? And boy, they named that club right away. I called that club. Yes, they were interested. I would contact the district governor of that district and ask them which club they think would be open to a global grant and working in that area. So start with that district governor.
Okay.
Yeah. And use Google Translate. I mean, it's not 100%, but it gets you pretty close in your communications.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No?
Carolyn and Ramona, I don't have a question. I've heard you both speak on this topic before, and every time I do, it really makes me want to pack the bag and go on one and be a part of one. So that is, you know, how we kind of set goals for ourselves. That is one of my goals to be able to do. So thank you so much for your information. Lindsay or Craig or Michael or Tom, you guys have any questions that you might need to ask them before they come to the end of their time here?
No, I don't. Carol, thank you. And I apologize for being late. I had a conflicting meeting that went long. So I came in late. I know I missed part of it. But thank you for taking the time to do this.
Well, we're glad to have you. And if there's anything that you missed that you're curious about, just, you know, give us a call or email. So Ramona's email is in the slides and mine is. If you go on the district website, our info is there too.
Yep. Craig, it would be great if you would pass on this information, Carolyn and Ramona's information to the clubs that you're working with as an AG in your Reno area. You guys don't really usually have a problem getting out and doing a project, but always good to have them be able to come in and speak on anything. So.
Oh, absolutely. The Reno Club's got a pretty aggressive international budget this year, so we have a lot of projects this year. And in fact, Michael Rainey and I will be getting together probably next week and going over our lists and trying to figure out where we can work together on things.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I'm sorry, he's not on the call, right?
No, Michael is.
Michael is.
Oh, I don't see his. photo
here.
or image?
Yeah, Craig and I.
You're hiding, Michael.
Yeah,
He's hiding behind his.
mission incognito here.
Well, he is on our district international service committee and has already contributed an interesting article that, yeah, so I won't say more yet.
I think global grants, it's going to be an interesting time because the need is so incredibly great out there because of COVID. But to get these community needs assessments done to the depth that we need to go with them now, it's going to be a little difficult. So it's going to be interesting to sit back and watch this year evolve in global grants. Yeah, because I've mainly it's just being able to be with the people and get the projects going out there.
Well, Ramona, you talked about, one of the really good parts about it is actually going to the country and being there, and I've done that, and it is really, really cool. I really enjoy that.
Powerful.
Sure.
Yeah, isn't it enriching?
Yeah, it is. And now, I don't want to get anywhere near an airplane right now. So,
Yeah.
And I had another organization call me today that works in Chiapas, and I mean to tell you the conspiracy theories in Mexico in these remote indigenous regions is horrific because they are convinced that it's the government, which includes doctors and nurses, that are bringing the COVID to them. And that's why there are people dying, and they're tearing down hospitals. They're going crazy. And like she was saying, I feel like we're gonna slip back about 10 years trying to go into many of these indigenous communities and build trust again, because the trust is not there.
Oh, wow.
So
we have that here in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't happen here.
Yeah. Yeah. I told her, I said, well, I think conspiracies have taken over the world.
Yeah, we have plenty. Tom Milam, do you still have a question or something? I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I have participated in, actually before I was officially a Rotarian, I went to Los Feuille for one of our initial international project there. And I was really looking forward to going back to Los Feuille this coming spring, now that I'm the president of the club. And my frustration is that there's so much good work to be done, but the uncertainties of the travel and so on make it a little bit difficult. And the other consideration that I have as a member of a fairly small club is that we have a lot of people involved in international service. I'm the president of Carolyn's club, actually, and a lot of involvement with international service. But we have we're in the difficult position that partnering with clubs in other countries is not always easy to set up. And the thing that I have seen happening and love to see happen more is partnering with other clubs, like Craig, for example, your Reno club, partnering with other smaller clubs within the U.S. to work with another club as a global grant, where we don't have the traction to do it ourselves, but we can certainly partner in with another club. So that's a great avenue.
Right, and Tom was we were going to do a project in Los Feuille this year, and it because of COVID, it got put on hold.
Yeah, because they couldn't get the suppliers couldn't get all their materials with COVID-19. And yeah, they've been very hard hit, way more than we see here, way more. Yeah.
I think one of the interesting things, kind of, if we want to kind of expand this a little bit, that the Nevada City Rotary Club also had people from around the world, due to their relationships through international exchanges and things like that, at a Zoom club meeting, and talked about what's happening with COVID-19 in the different towns, communities, and countries. And I thought that was just fabulous. Just a different way of taking that relationship that we build in another area and bring it over to something else that is definitely you know, like right on and happening so much in all around the world. So that might be an option for someone else who's looking for a program for their club meeting too. So,
You know,
I think
also,
the Zoom opportunity is really, and it is an opportunity.
it is.
For instance, we've done grants with Colombia. In fact, I went to the International Fair in Colombia. And so one of our strategies this year is you probably won't go to a fair, but those partners that we already have in Colombia and also other NGOs and other clubs, is we'll invite them to our International Service Committee meetings and actually have them give the pitch about, you know, what projects they're doing, what projects that we may be helpful. I'm not sure we'll get into global grants. I think everyone's kind of uncertain about global grants, but because we just completed 2 in Colombia. But I think that Zoom is really an opportunity. We're doing it here, obviously, but to stay connected with our partners that we've been involved with other projects is really dynamite.
Not just what Michael said about involving them in your committee, but bringing them back to your club meetings that are on Zoom and having them thank the club and
Yeah.
talk about the impacts that they made into,
Mhm.
into their organization or their community is really helpful, because that really buys in your membership and they really see the benefit of the dollars that they've given away and how they're used. And it makes a huge impact, other than your international chair committee standing up in front of the club saying, hey, we spent this much money here and this is what we did. But actually having that partner come and join in your meeting. We've done that a couple of times in the last couple of months. We've taken some old partners, international partners, and had them check into our Zoom meetings and talk about what we did. And it's impactful to your membership.
Great.
Right. Yeah. Great idea.
Yeah.
Ramona, I had one other question. Do you have exemplary global grants that somewhere in the district library or somewhere that could be looked at?
not in our district stuff. You know, last year, the Rotary magazine highlighted some projects, some exemplary projects.
I'm thinking of soup to nuts. I'm thinking about if you've got a committee that's going to have to work on it, and some to do some writing, some to do some interviewing, some to do some traveling. I'd like to see the finished product.
Of a project that's working right now?
A project that was submitted to RI.
Okay, well, I'm going to tip my hat here for a second. I have been contacted by the Rotary Foundation. They have been invited to the World's Conference on Maternal Health in Geneva, Switzerland in 21, if they get to go. And my maternal health project from 2015 is being considered as one of the top projects to be presented in Geneva. So whether our project is chosen or not, just the idea that we were enough on their radar screen that they said, hey, we're interested in your project, we might be contacting you for that. I'm pretty darn excited and proud about the work that we did down there. And I never dreamed that they would go back that many years ago. That surprised me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
the one place, and I don't know because I haven't been on it in just a short while, but the Rotary Showcase, I think we do have some
have some on there,
local and international ones on there. So that might be one place to look.
You know, and choose your area of focus, and that would help narrow it down into places that we could begin to look for some projects that you would be wanting to talk to, people you want to talk to, because like right in this international committee, I would say just about every area of focus is being represented by some member of this international service group that we're forming in the district. So we might be able to find you some projects there. I have to tell you that I think one of the key, when I did the first project, the key to that first project really going through the RI process was smooth and easy because I included that contact person at the foundation from day one. And I approached her with, I need you to tell me everything, every hoop I have to jump through before I have to get there. And she said, fair enough, let's go. And she just stays right in contact the whole time. And you know, the foundation is really refocusing, trying to get us to depend more upon that staff at the foundation. And so I think that's just truly valuable to let them know you're coming. But, you know, I also want to mention it's international service in the opposite direction. I mean, many of you will know that our district just did a community needs assessment, and we had a pretty darn good return on that, and that's on human trafficking. And so the board will have to make a decision if they're going to write a global grant, because it was very clear within our own district that we need a lot of education in what human trafficking is, how to prevent it. And so that will be us as Rotarians reaching out to our partners from around the world to help bring funding to this project, because we will be the host of that project. So we will have an international club, which, you know, we haven't found that international club yet because we don't have the data to give them. This is being modeled after the 5180 human trafficking project in Sacramento. And I was pretty surprised at the lack of knowledge of the people who returned those grants. But I'm telling you, human trafficking is on the rise because of the economic conditions that many of our communities and our families are seeing themselves in. And we're not talking just human sex trafficking, we're talking labor trafficking as well.
Yeah.
So that'll be an opportunity for many of us to say to our fellow Rotarians, see, it's coming back as well. Because lots of times I think all of you probably have heard the same thing. Why are we sending our money out of here? You know, why don't we just keep our money local? Well, I don't belong to the Chamber of Commerce. I belong to Rotary. That's why we go internationally. But I think this will help with that.
Yeah.
Well, also, I have the distinct impression from the workshop I was in for International Service Chairs last September that Rotary really is aiming to make a bigger and bigger impact around the world, not just in our communities that we live in. And they really emphasize this throughout the whole day-long workshop.
You know, and the other place to go for a lot of help on your projects is through your cadres. And those are folks who have expertise in the area of focus that you're working in. They're Rotarians. They are the ones who will oftentimes review a proposal for the foundation. They are the ones who go out and actually do the visit to your projects. And they are, if you have a cadre involved in the development of your project, that's going to help it go through so much faster and smoother through the foundation application process and funding process. So you have lots of resources out there. So I think it is about 5:07. Are there any more questions or comments? Craig, I want to
wonderful job. Wonderful job.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
Yeah, good job.
Tell all your colleagues in your club that international service is something they ought to look into a little more.
Yeah. So take care, everyone. Be safe and healthy. We'll catch up with you guys sometime, I guess, in Reno. Craig, the fishing's been great this spring. You'll have to come on down. We've been doing some nice fly fishing.
I'm planning on coming down in September or late September. I'll let you know, Ramona, and then maybe we can get hooked up.
Give me a call. We'll go fishing.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Take care.
Awesome
Thanks,
job, you
everybody.
guys. Everyone stay safe.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.